A warm welcome. Thank you so much for joining today's session of our Zipinar, which happens every Wednesday. That's 12 noon to 1 p.m. EST. And the company behind this initiative is Cogent Integrated Business Solutions, who wanted to give back to the community through free knowledge sharing. That's why they created and initiated this Zipinar in order to share knowledge for free. And also, to lessen the time, they decided to put the sessions for 1 hour only, but there would be two great speakers that will be sharing their experiences and knowledge. So that's to for you to gather more information, more knowledge in just a shorter period of time sitting in your screen, since we are connecting virtually. And we have two wonderful topics to be discussed today, which will be delivered by both empowered women that we have. So the first topic would be the essential role of HR or human resources in driving organizational success. So the title speaks for itself, and it says that HR forms the backbone of any organization, be it big or small. It is an extremely strategic role and function, unlike many organizations restricting to some basic mundane functions. The idea is to understand the importance of this strategic role and leverage it to drive people's performance, as being shared to us by our speaker, Chitana Sridhar, and will deliver this topic for us today. So you can now take over.
Sure. Hello, all. Good evening. Thank you so much, Phil, for bringing me on board on this interesting live seminar. Would love to share my insights and thoughts on this. And I would love to talk about it more so because I think HR is a very misconstrued function as far as organizations are concerned, big or small. And I noticed this not just in India, but even in places that I have worked earlier. I've worked in the UAE, I've worked with many international organizations. A lot of organizations think that HR is just restricted to hiring people, processing paperwork, doling out offer letters, and doing payroll, and that's about it. But that's not true. There's much more that happens behind the scenes than any of these simple mundane activities. Given the fact that any organization, as a matter of fact, if you look at any successful business, who are the people who make the business successful? The business cannot run on its own, irrespective of how seamless and how organized the process is, or how systematic the processes are. It's the people who drive the business. It's the people who drive the processes. So unless and until you have the right person in the right place, as in when I say right place, we're talking about job roles and job functions, right? There's no way that people can contribute to the success of organizations. A lot of bad hiring happens. A lot of hire and fire happens. A lot of employees are brought on board, but then midway through, either they are frustrated, or they might want to leave, given the fact that they were never motivated to achieve what they have to achieve or drive towards the organization's goals. There are times when employees are working, they seem like they're very busy, but they're not being very productive and contributing to the bottom lines of the organization. So how do we answer all these questions and plug these loopholes? The only answer to this is to make HR a very strategic function. So what do I mean when I say strategic function? There are so many things starting from scratch. For example, if I were to cite some examples, having a very clear organogram in an organization is so very important. When I say organogram, I'm talking about the big picture in terms of, what are all the job roles and who are all the people mapped to those job roles? Who are the people who have been onboarded, and how many people would you like to onboard in the near future? So it's a very clear picture and a roadmap in terms of what should be the bench strength, and what should be the employee strength in the organization. What are the important job roles and functions, and how do you map it to the different departments, and how do they contribute to the organization goals? So in essence, if the organization is not very clear about the goal and is not able to map it to each of the job roles, there's no way that the business would be successful. And in order to do this, the only answer is to have the right person in the right job role doing the right thing at the right time. And that's the reason why I strongly believe and advocate about the fact that HR is a strategic role. Couple of instances that I have had in my 20 plus years of experience in India and internationally. In my previous job role in the UAE, where I was working for Al-Hamra Group of organizations, Al-Hamra Group of companies owned by His Highness Al Saud, the Sheikh of Ras Al Khaimah. When I took over the hospitality section, I noticed that there was a lot of disparity in the pay structure. For instance, someone who was working as a manager for the past 10 years was drawing X salary, whereas someone who's just joined in, newly in the same role, was drawing much more than what this the manager who's been in the system was drawing, which brings about a lot of frustration among the older employees. And I really wanted to address that. So how do we address that? So what I did was I did a compensation and benefits survey across the organization, across the business units, to try and understand the kind of bandwidth that existed and how to plug that based on what is the market standard. And I proposed this to the management, though initially I had to face some flack from the management because of the fact that, you know, they thought that I was this trendsetter who was coming in to change the rules and the policies. Then they noticed that I did have my own rationale, because what had happened is, because of this kind of a disparity, it brought about a lot of attrition in the organization. Obviously, someone who's just new in the organization is drawing more than someone who's been there in the system for so long. So this makes the older employees very unhappy, and they don't feel recognized and acknowledged. So therefore, in order to address the attrition rate, this is definitely one of the strategic ways of handling it. So when I brought about a parity in the system and brought all the employees across the job roles along the same lines as far as the salary structure was concerned, people were very happy, and it brought down the attrition rate. So this is just one strategic, methodology that we could incorporate in order to handle attrition, in order to handle employee dissatisfaction. So when you look at various reasons, why an employee could be dissatisfied, it is not just the manager. There's a popular management saying that goes, people don't leave organizations, they leave their managers. But what could be the reason why they're leaving their job roles? Is it only because of the manager? There could be so many other reasons deep down. Manager not being efficient and effective in a managerial role is also a lacuna in the organization. So why is the manager not being trained on how to manage a team? Managing is a skill and an art, isn't it? So there's so many aspects and so many functions when it comes to HR. You have organizational development, you have payroll as a function, you have learning and development. People call it training. It's no more training, it's learning and development, because we keep learning all through our life, and it's an evolution. We keep adding skill sets and competencies to our job roles. And when we started off in our career, we started with X skill sets, and then as you keep growing, going up the hierarchical ladder, you keep adding skill sets to your expertise. And therefore, I think it's an ever evolving function when you look at learning and development. You have talent acquisition. It's not just recruitment, it is talent acquisition, because how do you acquire talent and how do you retain the talent is a strategy that you have to incorporate in order to handle attrition and bring about a set of employees that are more happy to contribute to the success of the organization. So there are many other functions like that. And I strongly believe that all these functions put together is what drives the success of an organization, because you might have processes in place, but if you don't have the horse in front of the cart can't be pulled and tagged along in the right way, in the right direction. You can't put the cart in front of the horse, which many organizations do today, and that's what leads to the failure of many organizations. And during the pandemic phase, those organizations, especially the startups and the small scale organizations that did not work on their people strategy, are the ones that failed. Those who had the people strategy knew how to go about it despite challenges that everyone went through. It was not an easy phase to handle. So this is my take. Any questions, Phil?
There are no questions so far as of the moment. You can carry on, or we can ask our attendees if they have any insights or queries.
Yeah, any questions, anybody?
Yeah, this is a great topic, and I think you mentioned a very good points. Thank you very much, Chetna. So I would request our other team members here to interact if they can. Priyanka, Madhu, Kamala, or anybody else?
Hey, Chetana, thanks for bringing up the topic of the HR and how to work with them. One basic question that I have is, you did say that people do not leave the organization, but they leave the manager. So do you have any other tips that you can offer how to uh, have a good relationship with the employee?
Absolutely. See, when you look at, when we talk about competencies for any job role, Kamala, we talk about skills, knowledge, and attitude or behavior that is essential for a job role, which is what competencies are all about. And if you were to actually break it down, there are so many competencies essential for each job role. For example, you have technical competencies, you have functional competencies, and you have behavioral competencies, leadership competencies, cultural competencies. For instance, let's say that I walk into an organization and become part of a very multi ethnic group, and I'm not oriented to the various other cultures across the globe. So what happens? I become a misfit because I'm not able to understand and appreciate the fact that people are different. Typically, drawing from Richard Lewis' model of cultural dimensions, he talks about a linear active culture. He talks about a multi-active culture. He talks about a reactive culture. So if I'm not oriented to all of that, I'm going to be a miserable, fit in that organization. And it definitely would be a similar feeling for the other people as well, because they wouldn't feel comfortable gelling with me. So how do I develop myself on these skill sets? So obviously I have to undergo a training program that will help me understand the cultural dimensions of various other ethnicities. So whose responsibility is it to do that? Obviously the organization's responsibility. It's the same thing even for managers. Just because someone has been in a system for a very long time doesn't mean that I promote them and put them in a more senior role. Is this person having all the essential competencies that is required to fulfill that role is a question that the reporting manager and the HR has to vet. So if you look at all of that, managerial skills has to kick in. And if someone is being a poor manager, then definitely he or she has to be hauled up and asked what challenges he or she has and how to, address that skill gap and help him or her, go up the learning curve in terms of acquiring those managerial skills. Nobody's born with every skill set. We learn them eventually. I hope I've answered your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Hi, Chetna. Yes, Madhu here.
Hi, Madhu.
Hi. So I have a question. There is a general perception that anyone can do the work that we do, right, as HRs. So can you?
I want to laugh it off right now.
Yeah. So what do you think sets us apart from others? Somehow the work we do is not valued by non-HR employees. So
Absolutely. I mean, let them, I would suggest that let them try not having us for at least a week and see how effective their entire organization would be. I mean, who approves their leaves, who processes their leaves, who processes their salaries, who, chalks out the training calendar for them, who contacts all the trainers and make sure that, training is happening on time, whether it is an online training, offline training, especially post-pandemic, we're all, just a button away. At the click of a button, we're all there available virtually, right? So there are training programs that are happening virtually. So who does all these functions? It's HR, isn't it? When someone has a grievance or someone has an issue, we resolve that. So end to end is what we're talking about, employee grievance. So like I said, the whole employee life cycle is handled by the HR. And that's the reason why it's a very important function, though a lot of people think that it is not a function that attributes directly to the bottom lines of the organization. But yes, we do. If you're looking at ROI in terms of, what do we bring to the table? Without all the strategy in terms of understanding who has to fit in what job role, we talk about a competency mapping, right? For example, somebody who doesn't have a financial acumen, do you think I could place him or her in a financial role and say, okay, why don't you become a financial analyst? Is that going to make sense to any organization? The answer would be a straight no. So I think we play a very critical role, and there's so much that we do that goes unnoticed. And that's the reason why I chose this topic, because without the HR running the strategic part of how to handle people and how do you manage them and make sure that people become more productive, no organization would touch or taste success, according to me. So I think it's a very critical role. It is definitely a support function. I've not denied that. But having said that, it is the most critical support system. It's just like having the backbone, you know, a human being is as good as a vegetable without a backbone that is functional. So we are the backbone of every organization, and I'm very proud about saying that.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Chetna.
Welcome, madam. Any other questions?
I think that covers everything. So no one is no other person is opening their mic so far as of the moment. That was really covered, crystal clear. Does that end the actual talk, or do you have do you need to cover more section of the topic?
I think I've done I've done quite a bit on the topic, and I've done justice to the topic in terms of covering how HR encapsulates every support aspect that's essential for an organizational success. So yeah, I mean, I reiterate the fact that HR play a very important role, and I think it's time that we get recognized, and it's time that we got our accolades, because no organization can succeed without our support.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that. So in such a short
Thank you
period
so much,
of time, you have delivered and covered such a great point with regards to human resources, and indeed it's very agreeable. So thank you so much for bringing that value to the table. So
Thank you so much, Phil, for the opportunity.
definitely, it's our pleasure. And now we can move to the next topic. But before that, would you like to promote anything that you are working right now, or how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah,
in case...
as COO and co-founder of Tejavati Consulting, we are aiming at not just bringing about a strategic perspective to HR. We have our own proprietary tools that we bring to the table that bring about that make a difference in the run-of-the-mill industry. Because when you talk about any of the aspects or any issue that crops up within an organization, we run our own diagnostic tool that helps identify exactly the gray areas, and we come up with strategies that address those issues in gray areas. In the coming year or two, we're looking at making this AI driven. I mean, the whole world is talking about AI. Driving businesses through AI. So we are looking at driving HR through AI. And when I say that, we're talking about the entire employee life cycle. And I'm sure that it would be a great success and a great hit, because at the end of the day, I think it would make it a lot more seamless for all our HR, because it's all about trying to reduce man hours and making it more efficient and more robust. So I think that's something that I would like to talk about and mention here. And I think Tejavati Consulting would definitely be pioneers in terms of doing that.
Wow, that's a great work that you're processing. So if anyone would like to collaborate or get in touch with you offline, how will they reach you?
They can reach me at chetana@tejavati.com. Phil, you have my email ID. Or they could reach out to me on my phone number, 95386-35318, of course, with +91 as the India, as a country code.
All right, that's fantastic. Thank you so much again for that, and for promoting the awesome work that you are doing. So for the next topic, and we would introduce the second speaker that we have today as well. So the next topic is why manifestation doesn't work. So there's been everyone saying that you manifest like what you say, what you do, and here, as being described by the speaker that we have today, like it is to explore the reasons why manifestation techniques may not always produce the desired results. So despite their popularity in modern self-improvement and spirituality circles, and to talk about the conflictual reality that we live in. So we also have CEO and Chief Mentor at Rising Phoenix Life Coaching, Dubai in India, which is Dr. Sheila Imbaja to give us the gist of this topic, why manifestation doesn't work. So you can have now the floor, Dr. Sheila.
Thank you for that introduction. And I'm Sheila Bajaj. And for those of you who have never heard of me, I've been doing this for over 2 decades, actually 23 years. I am the CEO and the chief mentor at my organization. I have a team of consultants who are trained under me, who are mentored by me, and who guide other people when they're on crossroads of life. Our company, Rising Phoenix Life Coaching, was actually founded during the pandemic, and when people, they had hit rock bottom, and they were just scared. There was panic. There was a lot of uncertainty. So our consultants, therapists, actually, came into play there. Everything that we had was actually face to face, and then everything went online. And we continue to guide people. Earlier, my organization was just me, and now we're a team of around 20 people, all in all, with consultants, healers, practitioners, and the other people who volunteer and assist us. So today's topic that I chose was why manifestation doesn't work. And to give you a little background, I've done radio for the last 17 years. I've hosted my own show for about 8-9 years, and before that I've had different radio stations that I've worked with. In 2007-2008 I was on national television, hosted my own television show for a whole year. It was a daily show on a news channel, and it was basically a show where I gave daily guidance to my viewers. I've written several columns. I've written for different publications, including India Today, Bangalore Mirror, and I'm based out of Bangalore, which is in India. And I've been a life coach, a spiritual teacher, someone who's taught people different modalities of healing, different modalities of divination as in where you can, use a tool and help someone get guidance. And I've done that for over 2 decades. And now I, have chosen the role of mentoring other people who can do the same. I also teach people a lot about manifestation, creating what they'd like to create. I do certain programs called Rewiring Your Brain, where we kind of rewire all of the programming that has been put into our brain from our childhood. And that's where this topic kind of, came up. Is a lot of times we talk about manifestation in the beginning, the ABC of manifestation is our go-to book, which is The Secret. And I remember reading that book many, many years ago, where I actually practiced manifestation in my own way, but didn't realize that I was doing it. And when I read the book Secret, it actually came alive for me. And a lot of people now ask, I've been trying to manifest this house. I've been trying to manifest, this person in my life. I've been trying to manifest so much money, but it isn't working. And one of the first questions I ask people who want to manifest something, and probably, anyone who's sitting here who's thinking about, oh yeah, you know what, I've been wanting to create something in my life. In fact, on one of my radio shows in the last week, I had someone who was from the armed forces, and he said, I worked so hard and I've struggled and I've done this and I've done that. I put in so much sweat and blood for our country, and there was a whole intense story there. And he says, but now I'm in a corporate job, I'm kind of old and I really have to struggle. And then I asked him one question, which was, do you believe that, working hard and earning with your sweat and blood, in India, we have this saying, this popular saying, khoon pasine ka paisa, which is money that's earned through sweat and blood, when you actually burnt your sweat and blood. Now, I asked him, do you actually value that kind of money? He's like, yeah, there was this whole emotion that went into his reply. And he was on radio, right? And he said, yeah, khoon pasine ka paisa. Like he felt like finally someone understood me. And the next question I asked was that, when something when easy money is given to you, Or like, again, in India, in some religions and cultures, they would say haram ka paisa, which is, money that just comes to you easily, like with a fluke. What do you think about that? Easy money. And he's like, no, no chance, no way. And immediately there's this whole moral angle to easy money. There's a whole moral angle and a conflict with money that was just got without working hard for it. It felt like as if it was bad money. It was evil money. Like money that you didn't get through working hard. That easy money was not good. And then I told him, I said, you want to manifest all this money in your life. You want to get rich. You want to win the lottery. But lottery is also winning the lottery, or even winning it from, let's say, even a real estate deal. You just connected two people, and let's say you have $1 million to earn from that transaction, and you feel that is actually easy money. It's haram ka paisa, or it's not money that you worked your sweat and blood for. So what do you feel about that? And there was silence. And through my 2 decades of working with people, coaching them, reading cards for them, tarot cards for them, doing numerology for them, or doing feng shui for them, or healing them, I have encountered so many people have this same conflict. Is the moment they talk about, I would like to create massive amounts of money. And the moment you ask them, so what do you feel about like easy money? No, easy money is, I'm dead against it. I will not, receive easy money. I want to work hard. I will work this, I will do that. And, and I am going to get there. So there is, on one hand, there's your belief system that's been put into you, that when you work hard, or the money that you earn through sweat and blood is something that's, so divine and so good. It's a blessing, and you feel so proud. Like immediately you're like, yes, I earned this money with so much hard work. There's a sense of pride. And the moment you talk about easy money, there's a sense of shame. And so this question about conflictual reality, or conflictual messages that we're sending the universe, is that on one hand, I'm saying I love money. I really want to be prosperous. I have this awe and all of this for money. But on the other hand, there's a shame in easy money. It's almost like money is evil. And haven't we in some form, from somewhere heard money is evil, money spoils relationships, money spoils friendships. Don't include money in this. Oh, this person does this for free, so maybe he's really good. Like somehow we validate people's authenticity if they were not charging for it, especially if they were coming from a noble career, like a doctor, a healthcare practitioner, an astrologer, a pandit, a priest, anyone who was doing service to humanity, doesn't charge money, automatically becomes really, really authentic, really good. And the moment someone was charging a high fee for whatever they did, it became that they were money-minded. But that's all careers, right? But somehow there is, if you go deep into it, there is healing, there is being a doctor, there is, curing people, there's all of that. There's, these bunch of careers that do service to humanity. The moment the aspect of big money comes into it, like they're charging a nice fancy fee for whatever they're doing, it becomes that they're not authentic, money-minded, or very commercial. And there's almost like a, like a judgment there. It's almost like a shameful thing. It's like, oh, you know what, that person's put into a box of, you're too money-minded, you're greedy, you're not, somehow this person's not clean or not authentic. And the moment we think that money is evil, or, I'm doing something, and I've seen this in a lot of cases, right? I've taught healing to like hundreds of people, if not thousands. I've taught people healing, and the moment I would bring up the topic of energy exchange, the moment I would say you need to charge for the healing that you do, because you need to have an energy exchange. That moment, people, all of the students would like have this resistance and this expression, and I wonder what that was. And to go a little deeper, I found out that was, I'm doing something so pure, I'm doing something that has so much sanctity, and how can I charge money for it? And what is the message that you actually, what is your interpretation of this scenario? Is that what I'm doing is pure, and if I take money for it, I'm somehow dirtying my sanctity. Somehow something pure becomes impure if I take money for it. And that's why there is this whole conflictual message that we send out. On one hand, saying, I want to attract this, that, and that. On the other hand, you feel it's going to ruin my sanctity. It's going to ruin my purity. You have all these conditions, it's like you have your own personal, your energies, like, let's call it your own little company or your own little office, right? With all these different departments. On one hand, you're like, I want all this money. The other hand, you're like, no, only if it comes through this channel, this channel, this channel. So, the guy at the security is kind of confused. He's like, should I send the money in? Should I not send him in? When money comes to your doorstep, money doesn't know if it's wanted or not. It feels like you don't like me. You think I'm evil. You think I'm dirty. You think I'm going to spoil your sanctity or your purity. On the other hand, you desire me. We have this confused relationship with wealth and money, with success, with growth. We have a very twisted relationship. It's actually very toxic if you go deeper into it. On one hand, we chase it. And on the other hand, we have so many judgments about it. We want it from only this path. And that's not how the universe works. When you have, on one hand, we have the god of wealth, we have the goddess of wealth, we have Lakshmi, we have Kubera, we have all these, we give reverence to all these deities who are symbolic of wealth. And on the other hand, we have, money is, it's evil. And that's where money gets confused. And that's where our manifestation doesn't work. Because we send double signals, we send dual signals into the universe. We're confusing the universe as to what we desire. And all of us do that at some point or the other. On one hand, you desire growth. On the other hand, there's something that you're complaining about. And you're like, oh, I wish I could do this. I wish I had all this time. I wish I could spend more time with my family. And then you're manifesting that. And again, you're like, I'm chasing after the growth. I'm chasing after the money. I'm chasing after this. So we're constantly sending mixed signals. On one hand, we say we want a relationship. On the other hand, we say, I'm not okay with this. We've already created so many conditions before we even meet the person. And the universe is so confused as to what to send you. We are so confused as to what we desire. So many times in coaching sessions, when I'm sitting across a client and I'm like, but what do you really want? And then after 15 minutes, but I'm like, but what do you really want? What are you looking for? And they keep going around in circles, coming back to that same point where they're like, on one hand, they desire this, and that. And on the other hand, they have all these apprehensions about how they will receive it, what they will receive, who they will receive from, who they will not receive from, what they will do and what they will not do. And I think our judgments of money block our receiving. On one hand, we say that, yeah, I'd love to receive money. And I ask people, okay, how is your receiving? Yeah, my receiving is great. Try giving them a compliment. No one can receive a compliment. Everyone buckles up, everyone clamps up, everyone goes into some kind of a, like their face goes red, they get uncomfortable. On one hand, people say that, I'm willing to receive love, I'm willing to receive money, I'm willing to receive people just treating me really good. And then you go out with your friends, you share a meal, and at the end of the meal, you go to snatch the receipt or the bill. And the moment, that happens, you got to just stop and ask yourself, what is the discomfort I'm feeling with the other person paying? Almost everyone that I've come across has a difficulty with receiving. And so on one hand, we say that we're willing to receive, but we have these barriers. And these barriers are seen in incidences like this. So I recommend to people, if you're looking to change your reality, if you're looking to really manifest, you got to deep dive into a lot of these subconscious beliefs that you have, which is beliefs that were given to you from your parents, from different people through your upbringing. You got to look at what have people fed into your head about money, about love, about growth, about fame, about recognition. I know I had a ton of poverty consciousness thoughts and beliefs in my head before I became a life coach. And I know that I struggled with so much of it because I also came from a healing background. My poverty conscious was at a different level. And I remember the first time I actually got present to it was when I read, Neil Donald Walsh's first book, Conversations with God. That book was a game changer for me, where he talks about, poverty consciousness, where he talks about people in noble careers feeling you're having a resistance to charge money. So my recommendation to each and everyone who's listening, who's having some kind of trouble manifesting, is look within yourself. I have a series of podcasts that I've recorded for ease, for transformation, and for people to listen to who are committed to changing their reality and really kind of doing the work, doing the actual work within themselves. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, and go and listen to all of the episodes in a chronological order from episode 1 till 25. I think there are 25. And I'm always available for one-to-one coaching sessions. I do this for lots of people. I do this for children. I do this for adults. I do it for people in relationships. I've authored a book on relationships called The Love Mirage, and I urge people to look within. If you're having trouble manifesting, manifesting is a lot more than just thinking on the outside. I want to manifest this. You got to. It has to come from within. It has to really from the subconscious level. It has to start from there. What do your roots have? Do they have the same thoughts, feelings, emotions? Do you still have? Is this manifestation something that you really desire? Just food for thought. And that's my 2 cents. Does anyone have any questions?
Wow, that's a really like a great explanation of the topic that you have chosen. Thank you so much for bringing that one here. So we'd like to
Thank you.
invite attendees to throw in their insights or questions.
Yes, yeah, very interesting session actually. I think the way that you analyzed about the money is very nice, Dr. Sheila.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
can you tell about, I think I have 2 questions. So one is, can you tell about any case study that you have done or, actual thing, where you can give a practical, overview on how the transformation has happened, number one. And number 2, on a different note, did you watch the Fuzzy series on Amazon Prime?
Which one, sorry?
I think Fuzzy.
Fuzzy, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have watched it.
Okay. We'll have a separate session on that.
Absolutely,
anyway, yeah. Now you can.
So your first question on case study, I have innumerable number of case studies. In fact, when we see this so much, because we work on this day to day, we actually lose count of the number of people we have seen a change in. To start with, the people who work with me on my team, if you go to my website, tarot.sheila.com, the people that you see on my website are my team members, are my consultants. Each one of them came to me as a client. None of them are cherry picked and just found somewhere off the bat. They were not professionals before before they consulted me. So they came to me as a client with their problems, with their demons. And the whole process is like a journey. So first they would get a consult, then they would probably learn something from me, then they would attend another class, and then it kind of progressed into them doing classes that then train them in all of the things that I do. And then they kind of got hired or absorbed into my team. And yeah, from all of the people that I train, there are a select few that I absorb, the best of the lot. That's where I cherry pick. And all of these people, in fact, each one of them on my team that you'll see on that website, Janki, Pranjal, Debbie, Raghavendra, Varun, all of them on my team currently are all case studies that, that's just straight off the bat. I can find at least another 15 people that I can think about that, are there on my network, on my group. I have a free group that once people consult with me or my team, they get added to like a community or a group. And there's a lot of free learning. There's a lot of resources that we share. There's a lot of hand holding. Each one's going through a difficult time at some point or the other. There are volunteers, there are team members. We have a community, and that's what we believe in. It's like, after a consult or after a course, we don't just abandon our clients. You go to these other places or websites where you consult a tarot card reader, you consult an astrologer, and after the consult, they don't care about you. You don't exist for them. But for us, we take people through a hand-holding process. They are there on that group. We suggest, okay, do this, do that, listen to this, read that, chant this, meditate with this. So, we take them through a process. It's like losing weight. When you go to a gym, you don't just lose weight in that one day. It's a process. And that's what we do. We take a person through a mind, body, soul, spiritual kind of a, cleansing and healing process. And yeah, we can't do that really for, a million people at a time. But at least we're doing it for like 2,000 people at a time, 1,000 people at a time. We're happy with that. We're happy with the numbers that we have. Yes, we would like to reach out and do this for more people, but we like what we do with the people that we have. And we see testimonials every other day, be it from numerology. It could be a feng shui thing that we did. It could be just someone listening to my podcast, but we see these cases almost every other day. But yeah, the case studies that I'm talking about, most of them actually who joined our team were people who were at rock bottom of their life, rock bottom. And they came for a consult. Life changed after they were, after they consulted me and all of that. And then they decided that they wanted to do the same. And that's why they learned it. And all of them have full-time jobs. None of them are doing this on, just like that. All of them have corporate jobs, some of them in startups, some of them in pharma companies, but all of them, do this on the side because it's something that they do for their soul, their life's calling. So that was your first question. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, I have another follow-up question on the same. So without naming anybody, can you tell me in the category of entrepreneurs, how exactly you walked through the transformation in the high-level steps, and what was the before and after? Can you tell just a little bit more, just on any case of entrepreneur or startup founder? It could be.
How I help them go through their journey?
Yeah, I mean, like the high level, what was the challenge and what was the solution?
Yeah, I mean, so at first people obviously come when they're, when they're not famous, they've not started out, they're at rock bottom. Most times people, the person whom I've consulted for has, they don't believe that they can do it. I have a few published authors actually who are very, very famous and, noted personalities today in India that have consulted with me. There are movie actors that I've done consultation for. They would come to me not having the faith that they could make it. And after a consult, they got a little better, it changed their perspective a little bit. Then I would tell them to join a class. And I do these sessions called Rewiring Your Brain, which is a 2-day class. And they would join that. Then we would have monthly meetups. There are constantly resources we keep bombarding them with. Today is a special day. Today is a very good. Today is full moon. Come on, meditate today. So we kind of, it's like a fitness mentor constantly telling you, whilst you're sitting, exercise your calf and it will increase your blood circulation and blah, blah, blah. It's like constantly giving them things to do to help them nurture that it's like working a muscle. And today they're successful. They have successful companies, successful series of bestseller books. And, and the good part about our work actually is when you don't hear from people, no news is good news because they're fine. In fact, when we keep getting the same faces back, we know that we probably didn't do, we didn't do our job well enough, because we are like, unlike a lot of other people who are in the esoteric field or in the spiritual domain, like you'll find someone who probably just does only tarot card reading. You'll find someone who does only astrology or only numerology. But my organization does it all. We do from meditation to healing to feng shui vastu to rewiring your brain to teaching them about prosperity and poverty consciousness and the power of, your own thoughts, feelings, emotions, and your belief systems and all of that. Like, we have it all. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. So it's like you can run, but you can't hide. Once you've taken me as your mentor, like I will not give up on you. Like I will chase you down and make sure that you reach that pinnacle. And there are times that people will, they're almost giving up. And from somewhere there'll be a video of mine on my Instagram that'll show up, and then they'll ping me again and be like, you know what, I'm just feeling really low. And then there'll be another healer or a consultant who can kind of help them in that moment. So because we have a team, we're able to like handle all these cases and take them through that threshold. Yeah, and we've had so many people, from the corporate world who say, I got a 3-level jump in my, promotion, which is very unlikely. I'm the vice president. I feel I'm going to get, and now I'm having so much fear and anxiety because I don't know if I'll get fired, because I don't think I deserve this job. Oh my God, I got like this promotion which I don't deserve. I got this jump. And I'm like, okay, relax, because they saw that potential in you. That's why you got that promotion. That's why you got that role. If they didn't see that potential in you, you wouldn't be there. So a lot of times it's, all of the energy work and all of the, the coaching that we do, kind of ramps up the energy to the level that they hit that point, and then they freak out. And then they get all, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. And then we also have a whole bunch of people who, who come to us who are clueless, absolutely clueless. What do I want to do? What do I like doing? What is my life about? Like as clueless as that. We've had people who've come to us for a consult, and they've come from that place of, I don't know what I like doing. No, what do you like? I don't know what I like. Okay, so what makes you happy? What is that one thing that you're doing and you find yourself happy? And you know what answer I get? Instagram. So we've had cases like that as well, where we've taken people literally from, that place where they have zero idea, because they were probably, this one person, he was probably so overshadowed with the family business and then the whole political thing. And, you're just told this is what you have to do. A lot of people from, these large families who just follow a legacy don't know what they want to do. And then they make it on their own. So, that's just another feather in our hat. So, yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to ask or clarify?
No, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for all the
my pleasure.
explanation.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I will.
My pleasure.
Open for questions by anybody else. Yeah.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi. That was a great session, quite eye-opening. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I like your holistic approach where you're integrating energy fields and psychology and spirituality and astrology. You're not dismissing any aspect. All of
No.
these play a major role. Yeah, I like that. I have a question. So I've studied psychology for 5 years, and even neurologically, it has been proven that trauma can be a barrier, right? Trauma obstructs manifestation. I've personally observed this in my clients as well. So, what's your take on this? I have always felt that healing should be a prerequisite for manifestation, and maybe that has been an obstruction. I don't know.
Fabulous. What you're saying is absolutely fabulous and so bang on. I'm so glad that you asked this question. And a lot of times these questions is what creates an opening and possibilities for other people to learn and realize that, this is really something. We're talking about some serious stuff. Yes,
Yeah.
trauma plays a very, very important role. I'm someone who went through a very, very abusive marriage myself. I'm someone who went through a very toxic, abusive, like you can't even fathom the level of trauma that I'd gone through. And I'm talking about physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse. And in those days, we were not even given the awareness of what abuse is. And it actually took,
Even
a
today,
neighbor of,
Sheila, abuse is considered only physical. So the question is, were you beaten up by someone? If the answer is
Yeah.
no, no, you haven't been abused. Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt, but
people don't consider emotional, sexual, and mental abuse as a thing.
as
And
abuse.
for me, I had it all, right? There was financial abuse. You name the abuse, and it was there. It was almost like he was on a he had an agenda, I sometimes feel that there was a spiritual agenda that maybe, that was lined up, so that I've been through it all. And yes, it's crazy, because no amount of, if you've gone through trauma, you need to deal with it. You need to heal from trauma. I know how much of trauma blocked a lot of things that I created in my life, because it's like, you're making kheer. How many of you know what kheer is? Like payasam or kheer, right? And imagine that whilst you're making that kheer, you're like spitting some vinegar or some nimbu into it. वो पूरा खट्टा हो जाएगा और पूरा ऐसे बिगड़ जाएगा. It's just going to fall apart. It's just going to like break, right? And that's what trauma is like. You're trying to manifest something, but then you have these thoughts of nahi hoga yaar, it's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. And then there's all this other trauma that you believe I'm not good enough, and then I'm this and that, and there's anxiety, and then there's other things coupled with it. It's all like a big blob of pain and trauma that's put together. So yeah, you can't really manifest, you can't really create. Sometimes beach mein in the middle, by chance, by accident, something happens, but those are only by chance, those are by fluke, but very, very tough. I know how crazy it was for me to create the life that I wanted to create, but because I was like a horse with blinders, and I kept dealing with my trauma in my own way, and with my own techniques, I overcame so many challenges, from from a tumor in my right breast that I had a biopsy for in the US, and it was on record. Like, I have a biopsy report, I have the ultrasound, which shows such a huge tumor in my right breast, and I was told at that age, you have to get it operated. And I worked with my own energy, I worked with meditation, I worked with a little bit of denial for a long time. I did not want to address the tumor, because I was so young, and I was like, oh my God, I don't even have a child, and I'm going to, I don't want to get operated, and I don't want to lose my right breast. And it was insane. But I worked with myself, I worked with healing, and I worked with meditation, I worked with a lot of techniques that I studied. And one fine day, I remember, I think about 6 years later, I happened to be in a hospital because my dad had an accident. And I said, I had made myself a promise, if I ever was in a hospital, I will get it checked. I'm not going to go specially to a hospital, but if I happen to be there, I will check it. So since I kind of told myself that, I had to honor my own word to myself, to also increase the power of my word, to also help me be a better, to better manifest, is keeping the power of your word strong. And that's a topic for another time, is always honoring what you say, saying the truth. And like, the universe should get used to this whole, what she says happens, what she will only say what is true. So, you increase the power of your word. So I did that. And I still remember the sonographer says, are you sure this is your ultrasound? He was literally searching for 45 minutes for that tumor, and he couldn't find it. And he said, what did you do? And I said, nothing. I just got a biopsy, but I doubt it dissolves, or like, I mean, is it like poking something that you poked it and then it just, dissolves? And he was just laughing at me. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. It's a proper tumor. It's a physical thing. Like, it can't just disappear. But it did disappear. And,
It was
that happened.
psychosomatic.
Sorry?
Yeah. Sorry, it was psychosomatic, and all your healing practices made it disappear.
Yeah. So it left. It was a proper tumor, and the surgeon was very sure that I should get it operated, because she was not happy with the tissue that it had in the biopsy, and I healed it. So I know that if I could heal that for myself, I could do it for other people. So I dealt with my trauma in a way that I channeled all of my energy to helping other people deal with their stuff. So I dealt with a lot of people in abusive marriages. I worked for a de-addiction center where I faced addicts who had beaten up their spouses. So I dealt with my trauma in a way to like channel that energy. All of that energy, I channeled it into that. I didn't bother, paying attention to my legal cases for years together. And, I just focused on what I love doing most, which is transforming people's lives. And I did that. That's all. I dealt with my trauma in that way. But yeah, it worked for me. But I'm so glad you brought that up.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story, Sheila. You're a brave soul. I'm so
Thank
proud
you.
of
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. And I couldn't have done it without all of the spiritual support that I had. I owe it all to those beings who supported me, my family, and I believe that the only help you're going to get is at the end of your own arm. And I tell people who are victims of abuse that you need to get up and help yourself. No one's going to do it for you. So, and after all of that, I did author a book on relationships, which I urge everyone to read, whether you're married, single, a teenager. It just debunks the entire fantasy and the mirage around relationships and love, because that's a root cause of a lot of conflict on this planet. So that's my 2 cents for today. Thank you guys for having me over. I love doing talks. This is something that I love doing most, is sharing my experiences, my knowledge with people. Thank you for receiving me and listening to all of the stuff that I had to speak about. If any of you would like to, get assistance, you can always reach out to us on sheila.com. That's Sheila with a double A. And also, you could listen to my podcast. I put out a lot of content on Instagram and on YouTube. So I urge people who are receptive to go and listen. And it definitely will change your reality if you want it to.
I have one more question, Dr. Sheila.
Sure, Srini, yeah.
Yeah, thanks again. So again, a disclaimer, anybody, who's listening and, who are following the advice, always consult your doctors or your, advisors. My question is, if you compare, your services and contrast with a psychiatrist, right? Just in a holistic way, what are the things that somebody can come to you instead of a clinical psychiatrist, and where you think you could help? The reason I'm asking is today I got a request to Let Us Talk It from a Michigan family. They have a teenager, and I think they approached us for any referrals for a psychiatrist. So I just wanted to, I was just trying to see, holistically, what are the things that you can take care in that context?
Yeah. So what the way we deal with any case, right? And I can't limit it to, let's say, abuse, or I can't limit it to, like, I've helped and healed victims of gang rape and acid, victims. There was a lady who had come to me and, actually put her onto, I was writing for Femina those days, and actually put her onto Femina, and, her article was featured. This was, I think, 2010. I have dealt with some very severe cases when people feel that a psychiatrist is someone who's unapproachable. Sometimes people have a mental block, or when they've tried everything and all else fails, that's when they think of me, which is fine. I believe that if the universe is sending me such people, maybe it feels that I can handle it. There was a point when I was just going through burnout, when I didn't get any serious cases at all. There was a time when I was building my team when I didn't get any serious cases at all. And I believe that's because probably the universe knew I'm so busy creating clones of myself. Yeah, when people, our approach is to look at the root cause of the problem. Medication is constantly dulling out and shutting off. It's like saying, I'll give you a small example. I hope that's okay. I have a chronic back problem, a chronic back issue, back pain. Had it for over 2 decades, tried healing, tried everything under the sun. Doesn't go. We started our own chain of chiropractic clinics in India. We were the first ones. In fact, we're the only clinic in the whole of South India, I think, right now. And we have 3 clinics right now. So imagine having your own chiropractic chain. And my husband started it because I used to be a migraine patient. Now I have back pain, and there are thousands of people getting help in our chiropractic clinic. When I go to the chiropractor, he says, your spine is fine. Like, he'll do some adjustments. He'll say, yeah, it's this, is that. He'll fix it. But I still have back pain. I recently got an MRI. Everything seems to be fine. And then I started going through some personal training. I hired a personal trainer. And every time I tried yoga or I tried some other kind of an exercise, it always flared up. I recently hired a personal trainer, and now I don't have back pain. So maybe the root cause was dealing with strengthening the muscles instead of doing all the other things that I was doing. It's like I nailed it. Now I have no back pain. In almost 2 decades, for the first time, I don't have back pain. And it's because all of the teeny little muscles that we ignore and we think this is not exercise because I'm not sweating. He makes me do like crazy small things to strengthen. That's kind of our approach. We look at the root cause of the problem and we heal the root cause. And it's like, healing the root of the plant. And slowly it kind of goes on the periphery. Having said that, we never ever say don't go to a psychiatrist, and only do this. When people are in depression, I tell them, you need this help, you've got to go. In fact, we have recommended psychiatry and a good psychiatrist to a lot of people. We have recommended, you need to see a doctor. And it's when we say, they will listen. But we constantly follow a parallel holistic approach. We never dissuade a client from the help they need. In fact, there was a time when one of our consultants on our team earlier, like she's not with our team anymore, had an anxiety and depression issue. And, I did not dissuade that person to get help. But at the same time, parallelly, there was a lot of alternative healing and support that I kept giving. So we never ever discourage people from consulting a psychiatrist, but a lot of times we see it's an endless journey where they are on medication, but they don't really get better unless they've, really dealt with the root cause of the problem. And that's where therapy comes in. A psychiatrist who's good at, like actual therapy will do that. Some people will only stick to medication, which I'm not 100% in favor of. I feel that therapy and medication is a good combination, plus the holistic approach that we follow. So we look at the root cause, and I love the approach of do everything together. It doesn't matter what worked. Even when I deal with a client, right, we'll do a session called rewiring your brain. We'll do some healing. We'll do some other healing. We'll do something else. And then the client doesn't know actually what helped them. Then we suggest Bach flower therapy. Then we suggest some antidote therapy. So we tell them to follow a whole system. And it's overwhelming, yeah. But we've cured some of the craziest cases. We have so many people who were on the brink of suicide during the time of lockdown. Literally, they just happened to see my video on Facebook and decided to go and book a reading, and the rest is history. They still message me back and say, my God, I still remember standing at my balcony and like thinking, contemplating, I want to kill myself, but maybe, and then I'm just flipping through social media and I see your live video. It was insane. It's put so much pressure on us as an organization that, there could be so many people whom we didn't reach, who we could have helped. So yeah, we deal with that emotion as well. But we have yanked a lot of people. A lot of parents bring their children to us. We specialize in dealing with children with ADHD, children with autism. Parents are still not understanding that it's a thing. You've got to deal with it differently. It's just dealt with, with sometimes a lack of awareness. It's dealt with as a problem, as it's almost like a disease, which it's not. So we have to start normalizing that. Now we have a whole spectrum of issues that we deal with, which is fine. Like I'm borderline dyslexic, and I do have some ADHD that I battle with. But it's something that I got diagnosed with recently. Someone said, "Oh my God, Sheila, you must have ADHD," and I've always thought that I'm just highly wired and I have this, craziness about me. But instead of looking at it as my wrongness, I've taken it and looked at it and used it as my strength. So in our days, everyone just thought I was lazy to read, but little did they realize that there was actually something there. But today it's a lot more accepted. It's a lot more like there are more coping tools and more ways to deal with, but not in those days. So, today people are more accepting. They need to be given a lot more awareness. With awareness, everything changes. Trust me, everything changes. The more aware people are, the more accepting, the more in allowance they are, and the more compassionate they can be. It's just about creating awareness so that they get off their judgment. Oh my God, I think I took a lot of time. I seem to have taken away,
That's totally
hogged.
that's totally fine. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect. I hope that has
Thank
taken
you.
care of the query for Srini. So Srini is the CEO of Cogent.
Lovely.
Thank you, both speakers. Wonderful.
Thank
to
you,
have you.
Srini. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Super honored to be here. And that's what I was telling him when, we were having this conversation about, when Phil was asking me about this, this thing, I told him, I love speaking. I love transforming people's lives. It's like when you get to a certain point in your career, you reach there and you're like, okay, now what? And for me, I think it's reaching people and, the more reach, the better. And I'm super honored to be here. Would love to, do more talks for the community and, be a part of it. Absolutely love doing this. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Dr. Sheila, and also Titana. So that's a great value you have given to us today with the topics that you have chosen to share to the community. So that is really appreciated. So I guess we have extended a little time, but that's actually totally fine because this is for the benefit of the community at the end part. But anyway, we'd like to conclude the day, and so we are ending the session as of the moment, but definitely we will resume next Wednesday for another session of the Zipinar that will be covering a special topic, definitely, but we'll announce it on a later on. So I will bid you goodbye for now. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today with this session, and for those who are watching us live via Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube as well. Hope to see you again next time. Next Wednesday for new session to be taken. And all the best, everyone. Keep safe as always.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.